We'll be starting with lesson 3, the class action suits. Now let's understand what is the concept of class actions. Here a group of persons come together and then file a case on the wrongdoer. You can relate it also with certain workers come together and then filing a case on the employer to ask for their collective demand. Even in company law, there is a concept of class action suits where shareholders, investors come together and file suits on directors, the officers, that they have misled them or they have duped them or they have conducted fraud on the people at large. So here, what do you mean by a class action suit? It is a lawsuit in which a group of persons with similar injuries, maybe all of them have lost their money, caused by the same action, that is fraud or this activities by this wrongdoer has caused them loss, sued together to protect their interest and rights. Now, if you want to see an example of a class action suit, so in USA, the concept of class action suits was there and prevalent. So the concept of class action suit originated in the United States in the 18th century. Now, in 2002, one of the biggest scams in United States, okay, in USA, it was the Enron scam. Okay, Enron company scam. In this, the company had falsified, had inflated its profits, hidden its liabilities and cooked up its balance sheets. Now this was done with the help of the auditors, okay, where the auditors turned a blind eye and approved the company's balance sheet in spite of it being cooked up, fraudulent and completely false. Here this scam was worth 72 billion US dollars, one of the biggest that time in history. So the concept of class action suit, these shareholders got together and then they filed a case on the not only the directors, the promoters of the company, but also the auditors. In turn, it turned out that the Enron company had to shut down. Not only that, even the auditors who were there that time, who had approved the balance sheet, they also had to liquidate their business. Now, what loss was caused to them, to the shareholders? All of them were aggrieved by the cooking up of balance sheets. Their share price, I'll just show you what was the share price of the Enron. So when the scam was declared, at its peak price, it was around 90 rupees. Okay, somewhere around 84 rupees. Once the scam was busted, it dropped to almost zero. It went into cents. Okay, 0.08. So just imagine the amount of wealth the shareholders must have lost. Now, since this concept was already prevalent, the shareholders succeeded in getting a compensation of around 7 billion. So once they filed the case, they could recover from the wrongdoers 7 billion US dollars in the form of compensation. Similar fraud happened in India as well. It is called as the Satyam scam. Now in Satyam Computers as well, the auditors were involved, which were none other than the PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. They were their auditors were also sued. It was a scam worth 14,000 crores. So this scam was worth 14,000 crore scam. Now the investors again lost their money. In India, however, we didn't have a concept of class action suits under company law. So because of which the shareholders could not recover their money by coming together, because not only the shareholders must have lost, even the depositors, any kind of creditors have also lost their money. There was no concept where they could come together and file a case. This closely, similarly, if I go to see what was there in class action suits in company law in United States, we didn't have a corresponding section for class action suits in the Indian Companies Act. Where they used to file under the Civil Procedure Code. Okay, class action suits have been filed as representative suits under the Civil Procedure Code 1908. So a specific section under company law was not there, because of which the shareholders could not recover their money. Pursuant to that, the J.J. Irani committee got together, and while drafting the Companies Act 2013, they introduced a provision of section 245 and section 246 which spoke about class action suits. Okay, so now we have a dedicated separate section under company law. So relevant provision under Companies Act, it was 2013 Act introduced. When the scam of Satyam happened in 2009, then they realized we also need to have a section for class action suit. Just how Enron shareholders could recover the money, even Indian shareholders could recover money. For that, they've introduced concept of class action, where group together come and file a case because they have been caused wrong, all of them together by a same act. So section 245, 246 of the Companies Act, which are detailed in chapter 16 of the Companies Act with the heading Prevention of Oppression and Mismanagement. Now, after that, the first time a class action suit in India was filed, it was in the case of Tata and Cyrus Mistry. So the Tata Sons versus Cyrus Mistry is the first class action suit in India. In what will probably be the first class action suit in India, several minority shareholders of the Tata Group have filed a case against Tata Sons, its directors and its trustees. They are claiming a whooping of 41,000 crores as erosion of shareholders' value after the removal of Cyrus Mistry. Now, according to these shareholders, they said that just because you remove the chairman, the share price tanked, and because of which we got a loss of 41,000 crores where the share price fell so badly. And now they are claiming it against the company as damages. The Supreme Court then passed its order, and this order is completely in favor of Tata's, where it says that Tata's has done completely nothing wrong. It is well within its right to remove any person, and that would not by itself count as oppression or mismanagement. So the Supreme Court has comprehensively dismissed every charge of oppression and mismanagement case which was against Tata Sons. Not just that, the court has gone on to say so far as to suggest that there was never a case to begin with. So therefore a big win for Tata's, and unfortunately Cyrus Mistry could not win the battle. Now, you require a certain number of people to file a class action suit, a threshold. So section 245 of the Companies Act, which deals about class action suits, okay, it says that two categories of persons can file a case under class actions. One is the members and the other one is your depositors. Okay. Now you require a certain threshold, a certain number of members required to come together and file a case, or a certain number of depositors you require to come, minimum number of depositors for a court NCLT to initiate the matter. Just 3-4 people come and go, they will not entertain the matter. So let's see what is the thresholds given. For members, separate limit has been given, and for depositors, separate limit has been given. So for members, they've given you two categories. Any one of them you fulfill, you can file a case in court. First one, where at least 5% of the total number of members or 100 members, whichever is less, come together, then they can file a suit. So let's say they are talking, first one is the number of members. कितना होना चाहिए? They are saying it has to be 5% of the total members or 100, whichever is less. So let's say 100 members got together and they want to file a case. So it will be counted. They can file a case. What if 5% of the total members is only 10? Then if the 5% of the total members also come together, they can file a case. Now just remember that this number of members, when they are saying, it is on the head count. So number of shareholders from the total number of members. Head count. Now what if I go on to say that, boss, I am just one guy, but I have a good amount of stake in the company. Why aren't you seeing the shareholding? So the second category says, if you have a good enough shareholding also, then the head count doesn't matter. You get the enough shareholding. So what is the shareholding given? Okay. Now for a shareholding, they say member or members holding not less than 5% of the total share capital of for unlisted companies and 2% in case of listed company. So let's say if I am holding stake for 2% in case of listed company and unlisted company के लिए 5%, so I can file a case as well. Okay, so this is the limit. You need to write it down. It will help you further as well. The second, let's see for depositors what limit has been given. Again, similar lines. Depositors, not less than 100 depositors or 5% of the total depositors, whichever is less. And now they are saying, again, here is head count. I could say number of depositors. Again, 5% of the total people or 100, whichever is less. Again, now come to the holding. How much of this holding they are having. So if you hold 5%, so any depositor, if I alone also hold 5%, I can file a case. Or collectively I gather people together and then I file a case. If the holding together, if I can arrange that many people who hold more than 5% of the total deposits of the company, I can file the case. Now moment this suit is filed, where would this suit be filed? Let's say I get the requisite majority, 5% or 100, I get them. Now where do I file the case? So filing of the case will happen with NCLT in form NCLT 9. So NCLT 9 is an application to file for class action suit. So this again, the form number also you need to remember. Then moving forward, against whom can you demand the money? So let's say if you are filing a suit, against whom will you be filing and claiming money from? So the class action suits under section 245 can be filed against either the company, the directors, the auditors, or any expert or advisor or consultant who had given any misleading statement to the company, or suppose if there is something in the prospectus, okay, for any fraudulent or act likely to be conducted. So any expert also is there, we can hold them accountable as well if they've given any false advice or opinion regarding the company. Hence, for the first time, a member or a depositor of the company has been empowered to initiate case against even the auditors, consultant, advisors, experts advising the company. And now what all reliefs can be claimed? Then you can claim in the form of damages, you can claim in the form of repudiating, cancelling certain contracts, enforcing some of your rights, etc. So let's see from the module class action suits. Okay, what is important? Section 245, the thresholds are important, and the origin, how did class action suit come into force? So firstly, what do you meaning of class action suit? It is also called as representative action, where a certain group of people come together who have been injured by the same act. They all get together and then file a suit. Okay. Now what is the logic and rationale for allowing them to be clubbed together? We can tell them up, सब separate cases file करो. Now filing separate cases, each one filing separate case would be burden of court. It would cause lot of harassment on the parties. So rather, when they all come together and there could be a lead applicant, a person who will just lead and all the others can be at rest. So the rationale behind such suits, firstly, is to protect the collective interest of the whole class, and secondly, to reduce duplication of litigation. Double cases keep happening everywhere. This form of class action suit, collective suits or representative suits are prevalent in USA, it is also there in UK, Singapore and other European countries. However, in India it wasn't there. And when in 2002 there was the Enron case where the share price tanked, it was a case of accounting and auditing fraud. Then in USA, since this action was there, they got together and filed a collective action suit and recovered money as well. They received a total of 7.2 billion, okay, as compensation who has lost their money. Okay. Now in India as well, around in 2009, there was the Satyam scandal. However, since we didn't have that, our shareholders did not get any compensation of that sort. In India, class action suit was governed under section 245 and 246 of the Companies Act. Now let's see how did it evolve right from happening with the Satyam fiasco. So there was a need felt at the time of Satyam fiasco where the shareholders, small investors were left to see their money go down the drain, while the American depositors of Satyam were able to receive $121 million in settlement as a result of strong class action suit framework in USA. So again, in the Satyam fiasco, since it had a subsidiary abroad as well, the US shareholders recovered compensation, but the Indian shareholders, since there was no provision in India, they could not recover any money. So subsequently in 2009, we had JJ Irani committee who was making the Companies Act 2013. They said that just like how in Indian and Enron's case, which they call it a Satyam fiasco, where the financial accounts were manipulated to an extent of 7,855 crores. Okay. Then a company's bill was passed, and then it brought in Companies Act, and now you have section 245, section 246, which talks about class action suits. Simple. Now before we get into Companies Act, we see that there are a class of people can get together and then file case on the wrongdoers. This could be in case of employment, where the employees get together and file cases on the employer. So class action suit. Second, consumers also can get together and file cases against misleading advertisements, unlawful trade practices, etc. to get a better recovery. Even in securities market, shareholders can get together, depositors can get together. Now, before the Companies Act, they used to file under the Civil Procedure Code 1908 under the heading of representative suit. In Companies Act, we brought in the class action suit with the advent or the coming of Companies Act 2013. It's divided in two parts actually. The first one is very simple: action affected by certain persons under section 37, and second, a clear heading of class action suits under section 245. Now this can be filed by members, okay, and this can be filed by the depositors. Now what is this section 37? It talks about misrepresentation in the prospectus. There is misrepresentation in prospectus. So in the company's prospectus, where they go to raise money in case of IPO, they might write in false aspects, because of which people have invested. Once the people come to know that the prospectus contains certain false information, they can file suits and recover in the form of damages, in the form of criminal prosecution, etc. So a small little section, you can mark it as important. Any misleading statement, okay, or inclusion of any wrong material fact or omission in the prospectus, it could give rise under section 34 to criminal liability, under section 35 for civil liability, and under section 36 contain the punishment. So here a suit can be filed or any other action may be taken by any person, group of person, or any association affected by any misleading statement. Then coming to the main provisions of the chapter, that is your section 245. Now section 245 gives you the thresholds of people required to come together to file class action suits. Now they've given you here, but again they will be repeating down with the particular rule number as well. So this you can mark it as important. So you will read your section 245, it will be read with your rule 84 of NCLT rules 2016. Mark it as super important. You need to quote this in your exam. Rule 84 as well. That gave you the threshold. We have done this threshold already. The requisite number of members required to file an application, either it's 5% or 100 members, whichever is less. Or now we're talking of shareholding, either 5% in case of unlisted company or 2% in case of listed companies. This is in case of members. This is the threshold in case of members. Now let's see the threshold in case of depositors. Okay. In depositors also, what was the limit? Head count again and holding. So first, at least 5% of the total number of depositors or 100 depositors, whichever is less. So again, it could be head count would be 5% or 100, whichever is less. And when I talk about the holding aspect, then they've said those who hold 5% of the total deposits. So or those who hold 5% of the total deposits, they can file the suits. So this you have to remember with rule number 84, sub rule 4 also you can remember. So this is your sub rule 3 and sub rule 4. Okay. So they will repeat it again. So you have your class action suit read with rule 84. Now let's read section 245 subsection 1. Okay. The most important provision, you need to quote it. What does it say? That any member or depositor or any class of them, so either members or depositors, are of the opinion, so this is the are of the opinion, that the affairs of the company are being conducted in a prejudicial manner. So when I say are being conducted in a manner prejudicial, that is harmful to the interests of the company, members or depositors, may file a petition to the NCLT. Now when I use the word are being conducted, is it past tense or present tense? So it is present continuous tense, means chal raha hai, are being conducted. So this doesn't cover of past acts. So पुराना अगर मैं बोलूँगा उन लोग ने 6 महीने पहले गलत काम किया था, मैटर विल बी डिसमिस्ड ऑन द क्लास एक्शन सूट. वाई? बिकॉज दे आर सेइंग कि मैटर गलत काम चलते रहना चाहिए, होते रहना चाहिए, देन क्लास एक्शन सूट कैन बी फाइल्ड. Okay, it will be filed as per rule number 1. They say in form number NCLT 9. Second, ये सब copy of every application shall be served to the company. जिसको गलत काम किया है उसको respondents और defendants को भी जाएगा, and such other persons as the NCLT में direct. Then we had seen the thresholds. is given in your section 245 subsection 3, read with rule 84 sub rule 3 and sub rule 4. So they have repeated the thresholds. So threshold is super important. Requisite number of persons required to file a petition for class action. Now coming to rule, now this we did is rule 84. Now we are coming to rule 85. Okay. Now what does rule 85 talk about? Is for conducting a class action suit. Means NCLT point of view. So this now we have to go from NCLT point of व्यू. मतलब क्या, अभी NCLT बैठ के देखेंगे कि मैटर उठाना चाहिए नहीं उठाना चाहिए, we should take it up, we should reject it, if we are taking up what all grounds and factors we should see. Because what is happening, all of them are collectively filing a suit, not individual suits. So NCLT has to see whether this collective suit should be entertained, whether the people filing the suit is able to represent the entire class, whether the remedy given will be helpful to the entire class, okay, whether this group filing has any vested interest. So all those factors has to be taken before admitting the application. So here this has to be seen from the NCLT point of view. The tribunal may, while considering the admissibility of an application, will take into account whether the class has so many members that joining them individually would be impractical, making the class action desirable. Whether joining them individually would be impractical, making a class action suit desirable. Individual action file करना impractical होगा, so it is better to file a class action suit. Second, whether the wrongdoing affect the entire class, whether the question of law or fact is common to the entire class, so all of them should have the same injury, and whether the claims or the defenses of the parties are typical of the claim or defenses of the class. For example, let's say this is the entire class that has been affected. Okay, let's say this is the class of shareholders who have been affected. Now इसमें से जरूरी नहीं सबके सब आने चाहिए, क्लास के थोड़े लोग भी आए. Okay, so let's say there are a few of them they come across. Okay, so they might be called as representatives or a group of people coming together and filing a case. So they will see whether this group who is coming is able to represent the entire class or no. शेयर होल्डर्स के खाली 3-4 लोग आए, 10 लोग आए, तो क्या वो पूरे शेयर होल्डर्स को कवर करते हैं? That is what needs to see. Whether the claims made by the party, because the party is asking not for them individually, he is asking for the entire class of shareholders. Okay, so we will see आप जो मांग रहे हो वही क्लास का डिमांड है कि नहीं. Whether the representative parties will fairly and adequately protect the interests of the class. So if we see, we are going to see कि ये कौन आ रहा है इतना बड़ा क्लास को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए. In sometimes in school it happens. What happens if let's say in my school in the 10th standard our picnic was cancelled. Now this is the entire class, we were 10th B. 10th B, the class picnic was cancelled. We were extremely sad. All of the entire class was extremely sad. Now I took the lead and I went to the principal with a few people and I said, the principal that, see, this is the last year, we want a picnic. So now the principal will consider that these 4 boys have only come. Is this 4 boys' demands actually the demands of the class? Is the relief asked by these 4 boys is the relief that the class wants? And then the decision will be given. So ultimately we did not have a picnic because the principal did not entertain us much. However, this is what a class action suit is, where a group comes in talking that there is a wrongdoing to the entire class. Moving forward, while considering the desirability of the individual action or a separate action, the tribunal may take into account whether admitting separate actions by the members would create a risk of inconsistency of varying adjudication, whether individual actions have been filed, so whether that would create a risk of different cases going on and all giving different judgments. Because it is possible, Mr. This is the entire class of shareholders. A have filed in Gujarat, B have filed in Mumbai, C has filed in Delhi. All the shareholders of Reliance Industries. Now, what if Delhi NCLT gives a different judgment for as compared to the Mumbai bench? So now there will be a conflict of decisions or no? So there will be always a risk, and this kind of, it would become a conflict of decisions. To prevent conflict of decisions, if the same subject matter is involved, it should be club. So there could be inconsistent adjudications and separate actions. Adjudication that as a practical matter would be dispositive of the interest of the other members. Okay, whether the adjudication would be dispositive means it would be sufficient and would provide the relief to the interest of the other members also. So अगर एक केस कर रहे तो दूसरे लोग का भी इसमें काम बन जाएगा, तो बेस्ट है. Adjudication would be substantially impair and impede the ability of other members of the class to protect their rights. Whether the adjudication, the risk of adjudication would impair or impede the ability of other members of the class to protect their rights. What is happening? एक क्लास ने केस फाइल, एक सर्टेन यहाँ पे केस चालू हो गया, ये लोग को फटाफट रिलीफ मिल गया. नाउ इट कुड इम्पेयर देयर राइट्स बिकॉज दे विल से अरे दिल्ली बेंच को तो सब मिल गया, सब शेयर होल्डर्स ने ले लिया, हम लोग को मिला नहीं. सो दैट देयर कुड बी अ रिस्क वेयर अदर मेंबर्स वुड बी स्टॉप्ड फ्रॉम फाइलिंग केसेस की दिल्ली बेंच में केस चालू है. So all those factors would have to be seen whether clubbing them makes sense, because there could be conflicting judgments, there could be conflicting reliefs, there could be something where I would be prevented for filing a suit where they will say उसने already case file किया है, आप क्यों फाइल कर रहे हैं. तुम सोचो सेम ये वाला केस में देखेंगे, मुंबई बेंच ही पकड़ो, मिस्टर ए ने केस फाइल कर दिया, अब लेटर ऑन बी भी केस फाइल करना चाह रहे हैं, तो वी आर सेइंग आप नहीं फाइल कर सकते, ए ने ऑलरेडी फाइल कर दिया ऑन द कंपनी. सो आई वुड से बॉस मेरा भी उसमें क्लेम आप ऐड कर दो, मेरा भी डिमांड्स देखो, नहीं तो मेरे को लॉस हो जाएगा. सो हियर समटाइम्स क्लबिंग कॉमन कॉजेज इज equally important. Now rule of opt out. Now this is rule number 84 we've done, rule 85, now rule 86. 86 में क्या होता है, एक क्लास एक्शन सूट फाइल हो चुका है. Imagine I had given my consent in the class action suit, but now I want to withdraw my action. I want to withdraw my complaint. Not all, only I want to withdraw. Others still want to pursue. I don't want to pursue. मैं समझ गया कंपनी ने ऐसा क्यों किया था, मेरे हिसाब से अभी ऑपरेशन मिसमैनेजमेंट नहीं है, बट दूसरों के हिसाब से अभी भी है. सो लॉ क्या बोल रहा है, अगर क्लास एक्शन सूट फाइल हुआ तो पहले तो मैंने कंसेंट किया, तो इट विल बी डीम्ड कि मेरा हर एक स्टेप में मेरा भी अप्रूवल है, बिकॉज आई हैड गिवन कंसेंट फॉर दिस एंटायर सूट. Later, if I opt out, then it will be considered that I am not involved. So here, section 86 provides the opt-out facility also, withdrawal of facility also to any person who does not want to be a part of the class action suit. Now, a member of a class action suit is entitled to opt out of the proceeding at any stage after instituting the case with the permission of NCLT in form NCLT 1. Second, he will always be deemed to be a member of the class unless he has expressly opted out of the proceedings. So he will always be considered कि आपने भी केस किया है, unless he has expressly opted out. Third, a class member opting out shall not be precluded, that is barred, stopped, okay, denied from pursuing a claim against the company on individual basis. where a remedy may be available. Okay, subject to any conditions imposed by tribunal. So I can tell the NCLT that I want to individually pursue. Now NCLT will decide and put some terms and conditions on me to file individual or some other kind of remedy. Maybe I want to have a settlement with the company itself. Now, so we've done rule number 84, 85, 86. Now we're doing rule number 87, which talks about publication, still from NCLT point of view. So now NCLT को थोड़ा काम दिया है, NCLT को थोड़ा वर्क दिया है. काम एक बार NCLT ने एडमिट कर दिया, देन NCLT को थोड़ा काम करना पड़ेगा. ऑन एडमिशन ऑफ एन एप्लीकेशन, NCLT has to do some work. Now what work NCLT will do? It will issue a public notice, tell the world that boss, a class action suit has been filed, anyone wants to join, make claims, please put in objections, please do that. It will be put up in a English, Hindi, vernacular or local medium language as well. So on admission of an application, a public notice shall be issued by the tribunal as per form NCLT 13 to all the members of the class by making a publication within 7 days of admission in at least one vernacular newspaper and at least in one in the English newspaper, requiring the company to place the notice on the website as well. The date of issue of the notice, the date of issue of the newspaper in which those notices appear shall be deemed to be considered as the deemed of serving public notice to all the members of that class. So जिस दिन public notice आ गया उस दिन सोचो सबको knowledge हो गया कि एक ऐसा class action suit file हो गया. वो public notice shall contain all the information about the name of the applicant, particulars of the grounds for application, the relief that he is claiming, the statement to the effect that the application has been made by the requisite number of members or depositors, that enough लोगों ने support किया है, statement to the effect that it has been admitted by the tribunal, date and time of hearing, time with which any representation may be filed with tribunal, details of the admission of the application as set out in form NCLT 1. Cost and expenses of the public notice shall be borne by the applicant and shall be recovered by the company or responsible for any oppressive act if order is passed in favor of the applicant. Now question is next one. Who can file these class action suits? So we've seen members and shareholders. Now who are members? Question comes, who are members? Members are shareholders. Either you are the subscriber to the MOA, either you have transfer, you bought it, you've approved in writing, IPO का form भर के you've approved in writing, transfer deed तुमने sign किया, or you are an electronic shareholder. So the following set of classes can file. One is the members, depositors, any class of them. So subscribers to the members, memorandum is deemed to be the member. Those whose name appear in the register of members. Second, every other person who agrees in writing to become a member, like in the IPO form you filled or in the transfer deed you filed that yes, I want to buy the shares. And third, electronic shareholders who are demat shareholders. The names whose appear in the books of depository. Those depository maintains the names of the shareholders who hold the shares in electronic form. Moving forward, NCLT jurisdiction to file class action suits. So section 245 allows the members to file a petition for relief before the NCLT if they are of the opinion that the affairs of the company are being conducted, means present tense, in a prejudicial, harmful manner to the own interest or to the interest of the company as a whole, members, depositors, etc. Now, against whom this class action suit can be filed? So when I'm filing a suit, I am the applicant. Who will be the defendant? Who, again, whom I can claim this money compensation? So it could be, again, very simple. I would file obviously against the company, its directors, its auditors, and any expert advisors as well. So this is an important section. It is all contained in section 245. Now coming, once arguments are done, then what orders can NCLT file to remove the oppression, mismanagement, or the wrongdoings? So section 245, okay, states that such number of members may, if they are of the opinion that the affairs of the company are being conducted, present tense, in a prejudicial manner to the interest of the company, then they can file an application before the tribunal seeking all or any of the following orders. Now, what all orders can you ask? You can restrain the company from committing any ultra vires act. You can restrain the company from breaching any provision. You can declare any alteration to be void. You can restrain the company or its directors from acting on such a void resolution. Restrain the company from doing an act which is contrary to the provisions of the act. Again, so all of this we are restraining the company. कुछ भी गलत काम करने से रोकेंगे आपको. To restrain the company from taking action contrary to any resolution. To claim damages or compensation from or against. Now, कौन फंस सकता है जिसके पास से damages मांग सकते हैं? Company as directors, auditors, or any expert or advisor from which for any incorrect or misleading statement made to the company, or any other relief as the tribunal may deem fit. Again, we had seen NCLT क्या क्या factors देखेगा. So NCLT का काम देखा था factors to be taken into consideration while considering an application. So we have seen that what NCLT will see, whether the depositors, the applicants are acting in good faith, what is the evidence brought before the NCLT, whether the cause of action, the reasons for filing the case, is one which the members or depositors could pursue in their own right rather than an order under this section. So we can say कि class action में मत file करो, आप individual action में file करो. If NCLT feels that it is not a matter of class action suit, it is a matter of your individual right, so you file a separate case. So that all factors also needs to be seen. Any evidence before it as to the views that the members or depositors have no personal interest. So the members, the applicant should be acting in good faith and should not have any vested interest in spoiling the name of the company. Next, whether the act or omission is likely to be authorized by the company before it occurs or ratified by the company after it occurs. Means whether cause of action is an act or omission that is yet to occur. मतलब वो अभी होने वाला है, future tense में, okay? It's going to happen in the future. So whether such act or omission could be in the circumstances would be likely to be authorized by the company before it occurs. For example, a merger and amalgamation. ऐसे नहीं ये लोग का merger हो जाएगा, बहुत ही गलत हो जाएगा. So NCLT will see that अभी तक तो approval authorize हो सकता है company से, before होगा merger and amalgamation के पहले approval होने वाला है, or it could be ratified by the company after it occurs. Let's say they have appointed someone. Now appoint कर दिया auditors को. Later it could be approved by the let's say they have appointed someone, let's say appointed a director, additional director of the company. They have appointed a additional director. The directors have appointed additional director. Now they are saying act हो गया, but it can be ratified later on. So they will see कि ये अभी भी approval का chance है क्या from all the other people, because there would be no use in approving an action which could be ratified later by the shareholder. Then NCLT will say यार ये लोग तो approval दे देंगे, फिर बाद में decision लेके कोई फायदा ही नहीं है. तो क्या कोई possibility है where all of them agree? or you're coming too early. Are you litigating too early is what is going to be seen here, where the cause of action is an act or omission that has already occurred, already हो चुका है. Whether such act or omission could be in the circumstances would be likely to be ratified by the company. So कोई act like an appointment, removal, whatever has been already done, and there is a possibility that it can be approved by the company and its shareholders. So then they will say you are litigating too early. In case of admission of the application, we've seen what all work NCLT has to do. They have to publish a notice. All similar applicants prevalent in any jurisdiction should be consolidated in one application. So एक consolidation of claims होगा कि एक jurisdiction के अंदर जो भी लोग हैं उन लोग सबको तुम join कर लो, combine कर लो. So all similar applications. So when they use the word similar, they mean it's a wider scope as compared to same. तो अगर कोई सेम मैटर है तो आ ही जाएगा, और उससे थोड़ा सिमिलर भी है तो भी एनसीएलटी उसको क्लब कर सकता है. टू क्लास एक्शंस फॉर द सेम cause of action shall not be allowed. Market is important. Can you tell me what does it mean? Two class action application for the same cause of action shall not be allowed. एक cause of action तो एक class suit होना चाहिए ना. So if there is one wrong, so there should be one case. Can there be one wrong and two cases? Then that doesn't make sense. Two class action suits for the same cause shall not be allowed. Club करके एक में ही चलाओ. The cost and expenses shall be borne by the company responsible for any oppressive act when it is proved. Order shall be binding. Any order passed by NCLT shall be binding on the company, its members and its depositors, auditors, experts, etc. They can go in appeal, however. Punishment for non-compliance. Any company which fails to comply with the order passed by NCLT shall be punishable with a fine. So now we are coming to the company के ऊपर कितना फाइन लगेगा? 5 lakh rupees, which may extend to 25 lakh rupees. And officer के ऊपर imprisonment, which may extend to 3 years. 3 years का jail for the officer. Okay, 3 years imprisonment and 25,000, but which may extend to 1 lakh rupees. Next, if we see application filed is frivolous or vexatious. अगर पता चला कि जो applicant है वो notorious था, it was making a false case on the company. In such cases, court may order that the applicant shall pay to the opposite party cost not exceeding 1 lakh rupees as specified in the order. तो 1 लाख रुपए का कॉस्ट अटैच कर सकती है ऑन दी एप्लीकेंट जिसने गलत केस फाइल किया, फ्रिविलियस मैलिफाइड केस फाइल किया, बैड इंटेंशन के साथ में फाइल किया, जिसके ऊपर कोई केस था ही नहीं, फिर भी केस फॉल्सली बनाया. Application may be filed on behalf of the affected person. So either you yourself can come or you can appoint representatives, someone else can represent you, etc. Now section 246, it's just a very small section. They say that the provisions of all this related to winding up shall apply mutatis mutandis, that is same to same with the necessary changes in relation to application made under section 245 or 246. Now, clubbing of similar applications in a bar on future litigation. Clubbing of similar applications. We have done this and you also know it. What is it? Clubbing of similar application. Remember I said similar application. यहाँ पे जो दिया था, all similar application in the same jurisdiction should be consolidated. So the word similar use किया means it gave vast powers to the NCLT to adjudicate and combine matters which are related also on the company. Okay, this which we had seen. So class suit action is nothing but clubbing of all the applications in one. Hence, class suit actions against similar defendants seeking relief may be consolidated into one. Then again, when they say two class actions shall not be there for the same wrongdoing, shall not be allowed. So this bar is only upon class action. See, two class action applications shall not be done for cause of action shall not be allowed. Means individual cases can be filed. On a bare perusal, studying of the above, the intention of the lawmakers is clear that no two class action applications shall be entertained on the same cause of action. तो ये क्लास एक्शन के ऊपर दो क्लास एक्शन सूट्स नहीं हो सकते. एक क्लास एक्शन सूट और एक इंडिविजुअल सूट हो सकता है. ये क्या बात कर रहा है कि दो क्लास एक्शन सूट नहीं हो सकता. क्लास एक्शन सूट्स विथ other laws as well. Okay, so there is class action suits in consumer protection also, in as we see in civil proceedings also, in competition act also, okay, and in civil procedure. तो एक एक करके देखते हैं. First, before Companies Act, class action suits or representative suits or these collective suits was filed under which act? It was filed under the Code of Civil Procedure. Okay, so persons having the same interest could file the case. Second, in Companies Act, shareholders and depositors can file, as we've seen in Companies Act, section 245, class action suits. Third, even in Competition Act, what happens if you file that any company is having unfair trade practice or is trying to have a harmful effect on competition or is trying to abuse their dominant position, the traders, the affected parties can come together and then file cases. So whenever there is this artificial shortage, price fixation, bid rigging, any aggrieved persons can come together and then file class action suit. So a class may dispute an agreement which cause an appreciable significant adverse effect on competition. Any person can come together, or consumers can come together, or consumer associations can come together. And fourth is Consumer Protection Act. In that also, if someone is charging above the MRP, or is having unfair trade practice, or is doing any kind of wrongdoing, in such cases, consumers can also get together. Now, this Consumer Act has gone through a substantial change where Consumer Act 1956 is removed and 2019 has been introduced. Let's see. So, you can mark this as important. Representative suits and new consumer protection law. So, what are they saying? That if there are 100 people in the class and only 10 want to litigate, and 90 are approving, then there is no use of filing class action suits, is what the normal context has been said in Abrish Kumar versus Pereris Infrastructure. They would argue that so it is said that persons who approach the court in class action need to represent an adequate portion of the class. Now, what is adequate portion will be different in different acts. In case of consumer cases, cases, it has been said that it would not permit a class only 10% out of which 100 wish to litigate. So if only 10 persons out of 100 wish to litigate, so for them 10% is a small number. They argue they could argue that what if the 90% want to join later on? तो वो एक argument हो सकता है, but they will look into a standard and see whether they want to accept what is a sufficient number in Consumer Protection Act. अभी in Consumer Protection Act, अभी हम लोग जो कंपनी लॉ का अलग थ्रेशोल्ड है, कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट नया एक्ट बना है इसमें वो लोग बोल रहे हैं डिटरमाइन करना कि कितने लोग सफिशिएंट होंगे टू इनिशिएट अ कलेक्टिव सूट इज टू बी डिटरमाइंड. ना यहाँ पे क्या बोला है कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट सेक्शन 17 के अंदर. इन कंज्यूमर एक्ट सेक्शन 17, बिफोर यू स्टार्ट यू शुड नो who is the regulator for securities market. Who is the regulator for securities market? SEBI. Who is the regulator for let's say insurance matters? IRDA. Who is the regulator for banks? RBI. Who is the regulator? Now you tell me, who is the regulator for consumer cases? So a separate regulator has been made now under the act, which is called as a Consumer Protection Authority. Consumer Protection Authority. Okay, तो ये एक नया अथॉरिटी बनी है अंडर द 2019 Act. So 2019 Act Consumer Protection makes a new regulator for protecting consumers, which is called as the Consumer Protection Authority. इसमें क्या बोल रहे हैं दैट व्हेन कंज्यूमर्स will file a complaint to Consumer Protection Act, then they will file cases on the company. Means you can't directly file, consumers can't directly file a class action suit on the company because consumers are widespread. So they have to complain to the Consumer Protection Authority, regulator, and then the regulator will take action. Let's read it out. So a complaint relating to violation of consumer rights harmful to the interests of consumers as a class will be forwarded to the regulator. It would then conduct a preliminary inquiry as to whether there exists a prima facie case of violation of consumer rights and instruct for an investigation to be conducted. This has taken away the power to initiate class action suits from individuals and vested them into the hands of the regulator. Okay. Now we are seeing difference between section 241 and 245. 241 talks about operation mismanagement, and 245, which is the chapter that we are doing now, is class action suits. सबसे पहले in 241 members could apply. Your members, depositors, or any class of them can apply. Third, when they can apply, when the affairs have been or are being conducted. So past and present. यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? The conduct of the affairs are being conducted. So if you see, have been is 1 and are being conducted is 2. जबकि class action suit में क्या लिखा है? Are being conducted only. Third, opinion versus the complaint. Any member of the company who complains that, यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? Such number of members, depositors, or any class of them as indicated. Under section 241, the member has to suffer, and under section 245, simple formation of an opinion is enough. Okay, so is of the opinion, and here he asked any member asked who has complained. So एक ओपिनियन भी हो गया, एक सस्पिशन भी हो गया, तो यू कैन फाइल क्लास एक्शन सूट्स. दे हैव बीन और आर बीइंग, they are being conducted, so it's a continual act. To whom you can file the case? In case when there is harmful to public interest, it is oppressive to any member, to the company, okay, or prejudicial to the interest of any members or any class. So this is your 241. जबकि 245 says it is prejudicial, harmful to the interest of company, members or depositors. Can you tell me क्या missing है यहाँ से? In 245, public interest is not being considered. So this is a narrower ambit. Public interest is not covered. Second, power of the central government. If the affairs of the company are being conducted in a manner harmful to public, central government may grant relief. अब obviously यहाँ पे public interest है ही नहीं, तो no question of central government coming in between. Inclusion of auditors, यहाँ पे नहीं था, consultants नहीं था, जबकि 245 says you can even make the auditor, expert, consultant liable. पब्लिक नोटिस के बारे में कुछ है नहीं, यू डोंट हैव टू इशू एनी पब्लिक नोटिस इन ऑपरेशन मिसमैनेजमेंट, whereas in class action suits public notice is issued. Next, if we see consolidation of various applications under different jurisdiction, no such mention anywhere, whereas consolidation of similar nature of matters and can appoint a lead applicant. So they will consolidate the matter and they will say that these people have taken the initiative, they can be called as a lead applicant. Waiver of conditions to make. Under section 244, the tribunal has got the power to waive any of the requirement in order to make an application, whereas there is no waiver provision given under this. So in order to provide relief to the affected members, the tribunal may consider waiving of certain requirements, but no waiving of any conditions given for class action suits. And that is it, we are done with the chapter.